Welcome to AMD Radeon RAMDisk. In this video, we're going to discuss how to slash video game load times. Okay, in order to set up RAMDisk for optimal gaming settings, we're going to go ahead and start the configuration utility. And this will come up currently with the default settings. Yours may be different, but I would suggest that before you start, you hit the Restore Default Settings button just so that you start off in the same place that I do. That just makes it a little easier. So because we're going to create a large disk, we're going to get away from the fat partitions and go ahead and use the unformatted option, and that'll allow us to actually format an NTFS disk a little later. So we're going to actually create a fairly large disk because we want to put, a good amount of gaming material on here. So I'm going to create a 15 gigabyte disk. In general, I'm going to leave a little extra memory for use by the operating system, especially for use in games, because you don't want to starve the game of memory. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the Load and Save tab, and we're going to go ahead and select the load disk image, and it's going to tell us that the file does not exist and that one will be created. That's normal, and it's going to start as unformatted. That's also normal. And then we're going to also select the Save Disk Image on Shutdown option. And the reason we selected these two is because we want the RAM disk to be a persistent disk. It's going to save a copy to your hard drive when you turn your computer off, and it's going to reload it when you turn your computer on, so that you can go about your business, do your emails, whatever you're doing, and then when you're ready to launch the game, it will already be in memory and launch really fast, as well as any level loading or anything like that that's happening in the game, zone transitions, all that stuff is going to happen lightning fast because everything's already loaded in RAM. And of course, you don't want to have to reload your game every time you start, so it's really important to have these settings configured this way. Now, those are all the settings we're going to have to configure right now, so we're going to go ahead and start the RAM disk. And it's going to verify the start. It's also going to give us a message here in a second. So it tells us that the image load failed. The driver was started with an unformatted disk. And the reason that it gave us that message is because we really haven't saved an image yet because we haven't shut down. And this is a brand new installation with a brand new disk. So that's fine. Actually, we expect that message because it was unable to load anything because there's nothing there yet. But the first time we shut down, the disk will get saved, and then this message will no longer be visible. Okay, so now we are completely finished configuring the RAMDisk utility, and it has now confirmed that the disk has started successfully. So we're done using the configuration utility now. We can go ahead and close that. We actually don't even have to get into this ever again until we make some other changes to RAMDisk for some other use. So we'll go ahead and close that out. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and format the disk that we just created. We're going to go to your computer and right-click and manage it. All right, and we're going to go to Disk Management. And because we just created a brand new disk, it's going to pop up this Initialize Disk dialog. Just hit OK. And we'll see down here that we have a new unallocated, in this case it's disk 2. In your computer it may be a different disk. Now we just right-click in this space, and we're going to make a new simple volume. Next, next. Default drive letter is fine. We're going to go ahead and rename this RAM disk. And next. And finish. Alright, so now we have a new disk. See how fast that went? And it's been, the autoplay dialog will come up. We don't need that at this time. But we do note that it is RAM disk and it's disk F. Now, if we were going to be installing a game here, we would basically just load the CD in or take the download, whatever we're doing, and we'd install it to the RAM disk F. And it would be just like we were installing it to any other drive, so at this point there's really nothing else to do. However, what I'd like to do is show you how to use one of the popular gaming platforms out there, which is Steam. So we're going to install Steam to our RAM disk and run a couple of games. We're going to take some benchmark data just to show you the difference between the load times, comparing the RAID 10 game load times with Steam loaded to RAM disk F. Here's a great tip on how to install Steam games to your RAM disk. When you're selecting your games, you can choose where to put them. So you can take the most important games to you, the games you'd like to load fastest, and install them to your RAM disk. In this case, that's our F drive. However, if you wanted to play a game that you don't care so much about the speed, say maybe a casual game, you can then select another drive in your system and load it to there. And you can obviously move those around as you desire. So now on to the fun stuff. We wanted to do a side-by-side demo of video games loading with Radeon RAMDisk versus the hard drive. We wanted to do it versus a single hard drive, but that would have taken way too long, so we did the comparison against a RAID 10 disk set. In this demo, you can see Skyrim loading much faster. So 20 seconds versus 7 seconds. Now we'll look at Far Cry 3. Again, we just ran this Radeon RAMDisk versus the RAID 10 drives, and you can see the results are dramatic. And in fact, the really cool thing is that all your game transitions, whether you're loading a new level or zoning, will all happen much, much faster with RAMDisk. So, thanks for watching, and come visit us at radionmemory.com.